Okay. Now, we've been talking about, obviously, a TV drama reenacting something that some people would see as hugely insensitive, and an ongoing story that you and I have been discussing is the ongoing lack of sensitivity, seemingly, towards aspects of Diana's life in The Crown, the latest series, which is going to drop in actually a few days, isn't it? Aren't we just a few days away?
We're a little over a week away, yes.
So it's I was going to say in November, and it is November. So we've spoken about Diana's ghost visiting Charles. We've spoken about the now King Charles, I should say, the then Prince Charles. Obviously, we've spoken in the past about, again, there were thousands of people devastated by this event, the Mercedes entering the tunnel and the real reenactment of that happening in the most, I guess, real terms that you can think of. But now they're straying into the realms of speculation about an aspect of Diana when she died rather than actual facts, aren't they?
Well, I mean, the ghost is giving away a lot of, I think, their inability to, or their desire, their lack of desire to stick to the script, I guess. It does seem, I don't know, I want your opinion, but it felt like that initial trailer we got. To me, I watched that and saw Charles's, the King's hero moment. He's the Prince of Wales at the time. But I wonder if that's what this entire part one is about. Prince Charles having a hero moment, and really little to no courtesy going to Diana and her life, because the idea that we are going to even touch on the rumors of Diana's pregnancy, or that Dodi and Diana were murdered in some sort of sinister plot, to me is appalling.
And that's the thing, and just to jump in, that's the thing here that is the controversial thing that I've been sort of referencing all morning. So The Crown's latest series is going to portray Mohammed Al Fayed's claiming that Princess Diana was pregnant at the time of her death, and alleging that they were both killed as part of an establishment plot. So there's a danger it's going to sort of dredge up all of that speculation again.
And I mean, I feel like there are so many people that just consume shows like this as fact and won't do their due diligence, won't really invest, or just love it because it's the craziest, conspiracy ever, and just wants to go with it. It just feels like such an unfair topic to bring up on what was such a classy, beautiful, incredible show, those first few seasons. And, people close to Prince William say that he's going to be hurt by this. He's going to be very unhappy with this idea that this is being thrust back into the media and being thrust back into people's faces, because a lot of people close to Diana say that this is absolutely not true, and she was not pregnant. And I think anybody that has studied her death that day realizes that she wasn't murdered. It was a terrible, terrible accident, and just unfortunate circumstances. But I will listen to the people that like is it Michael Cole, BBC correspondent, worked for Mohammed Al Fayed. He will argue that there were some strange events that happened that day. I will listen to him openly about that. I respect him. I respect his opinion.
I mean, I don't think I will stray into the conspiracy theories that it was all an establishment plot to kill Princess Diana, but there are many unanswered questions regarding that day that have still never been answered. Why have the paramedics never been spoken to? Why was the coroner at the time in France never called to the inquest? Why did the letter that she wrote fearing for her life didn't come out for years and years later? Why was the scene cleaned so quickly? Why did she end up going to a hospital that was not the nearest one? Why did it take so long after the accident to get her out of the vehicle and to an actual hospital? Now, none of that equates to this is a terrible conspiracy, but they're all questions that I think that are valid and have fueled a lot of this speculation. But what I will say about those Mohammed Al-Fayed claims, as tasteless as they may be, if the Crown is going to document history, those claims were made by him, and him believing that is a part of history. And if he is a part of that story, I would argue that perhaps it would almost be more suspicious if they didn't feature those claims.
Well, there's a lot of things that they don't feature that I think they should have, like Princess Diana's secret meeting with JFK Jr. I think that would have been a quality episode of The Crown. I've more days of my life than I care to admit casting for that imaginary episode in my head. I think there's plenty of.
Did I make the shortlist? Did I get anywhere near the shortlist?
110%, Cristo. You were in my top 3.
Oh, I'll take that. I will take. Well, but hang on, as Diana or as JFK Jr. Which one?
I've seen your legs, Diana.
Thank you. I'll take that. So let's talk more about this. Diana being pregnant and Dodi being killed with her as part of an establishment plot. So as I was saying, I think if they're going to cover her death, your example that we had about the Diana and JFK Jr. meeting, you could still make the drama about her life without that. That wasn't an integral part of the story of Diana, but her death is. And if you're going to cover her death, and if you're going to cover Mohammed Al-Fayed's reaction to her death, which are things you could not make a drama like this and avoid, surely you have to do it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
We totally skipped a kidnap plot of the Princess Royal, where how is that excluded from The Crown? And they covered Anne extensively, but they skipped the episode where someone attempts to kidnap her and she frees herself because that is how amazing and cool she is. I get it. I do think that I think it's a chapter that could be skipped because I don't believe it.
How could you skip? Well, firstly, I agree. I think that was ridiculous that they skipped that in the life of Princess Anne. I watched a documentary about that the other night, actually. Just last week, I watched a documentary about that entire evening and how extraordinary it was, and the bravery of so many people who intervened to save Princess Anne. And how it was actually a couple of members of the public and her royal protection officer at the time, who I think was shot 3 times trying to save her, and how apparently she told the kidnapper to F off and she wasn't going with him, and they were grappling, and she was like, I'm not coming with you, even though he was holding a gun to her. So
that's so good. That's a to be continued. That's like we watch an hour of it because it's such a compelling story.
It is compelling, but it is, again, I would argue, although I agree with you, it was ridiculous they took it out, I would argue from an editorial point of view, it could be removed from the story and Princess Anne's story could still be told about other aspects of it. You can't remove Diana's death from the story of Diana's life. And if Diana is featured in this, you can't...
I am not saying her death. I'm saying that I'm not saying her death. I agree that that's important because that affected you, me, everybody that I've ever met has feelings about that or remembers that. But I don't think that some of it's kind of chaos. It's fray. To me, it doesn't define who she is. To say she could, the idea of putting it out there that she could have potentially been pregnant with Dodi's family, it cheapens her, or baby. It cheapens her. She would not have done that to the royal family. She wouldn't have put herself in that position.
But it documents Mohammed Al-Fayed's reaction, and Mohammed Al-Fayed's reaction was to scream at everyone, to say it was all a plot, to say that she was pregnant, and that is as if you're gonna show history, you got to show it warts and all, and that is a part of that. And for goodness sake, they showed Prince Charles, as he was at the time, in a phone call regarding wanting to be one of Camilla's sanitary products. I mean, that is warts and all. And so I would argue that I think it would be difficult to cover it without without including that. Now, what the drama needs to do, obviously, is have rebuttals to that. People saying, look, this is absolute nonsense. And of course she wasn't pregnant. And I know these are the ramblings of a man in grief. But I think to not cover it would be doing history a disservice, but also I think would make people believe that there is more of a cover-up than there actually is.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that these are Prince Harry's employers, and Prince Harry lingers in this space of conspiracy. To this day, he still is searching for answers when it comes to his mother's death. So I don't think it's a healthy place to be. I don't think it's a healthy information to put out there. And I don't think that they are, I mean, you know, because don't forget that at the end of season 4 of The Crown, Prince Philip threatens Diana. So to me, for all, you know, obviously we haven't seen it yet, and I've seen the Daily Beast going after people like me that are being critical of it before it's actually out. But to me, having had season 4 end in that room, I believe it was at Sandringham or Balmoral, it was a Christmas, with Prince Philip threatening Diana, and then we hear full circle that they're going to bring up the conspiracies of perhaps the fact that they were murdered because the establishment didn't want them together. It just makes me uneasy.
Well, yeah, I understand why, but we're going to have to, on a rare occasion, agree to disagree, which is unprecedented. And when they remake the drama of our lives in years to come, Kinsey, I want that disagreement included. You know, we've got to include warts and all, and when you and I don't get along, we have to include it. And when Meryl Streep is far too old to play you. I don't know who's going to play you. Who will play you?
Olivia Rodrigo.
Not Lindsay Lohan?
No.
And who's going to play me?
Oh my gosh.
Henry Cavill.
Patrick Dempsey.
No. Henry Cavill, obviously Henry Cavill,
Obviously.
because you know there's got to be a physical likeness in order for it to work. So you know clearly. Okay, let's talk about why. So this could be a weekly question, and I wouldn't even know what the answer is. Why are Meghan Markle and Prince Harry angry this week? What are they annoyed about?
I'm sorry, but I think this is a kind of a fun one. This is according to Closer magazine. It's they're claiming that Harry and Meghan have realized that Hollywood, or the majority of Hollywood, has sided with the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine. And a source tells Closer, you'd be surprised how many big stars reached out to William and Kate to let them know that they have their support amid this feud with Harry and Meghan. They may have moved to California, but it's William and Kate who had the most support out there. And there is a certain level of smugness about that. They insist that they be doing this regardless of where the Sussexes live, but there is no doubt they'll enjoy showing Meghan and Harry how Hollywood is still very much obsessed with all things royal.
And that means actual royals, not royals that have decided to jack it all in, slag off the family, and become cheap C-list reality stars.
Exactly. And so this is, again, Closer magazine with this report about how just Harry and Meghan are having some doors shut in their face because, and I know I've said this a couple of times on this program, but those rumors circulating that Reese Witherspoon refused to do Meghan Markle's podcast. We know that Taylor Swift refused to do Meghan Markle's podcast. Recent reports that Meghan had reached out to Julia Roberts. We've not seen anything come of that, So I do think that there are some examples that we've seen of real A-listers wanting to distance themselves from Harry and Meghan.
And could it be because her podcast was incredibly dull? I mean, is that why? They just didn't have the threshold for the level of boredom that would be involved in sitting there for an hour and listening to that dross?
Well, it didn't exist at the time, so that they would have to be assuming, based on Meghan's personality or some sort of pitch, that was going to be the case. But Meghan's podcast was recorded by, in a lot of cases, by somebody else, and produced in chunks before it was
Yeah.
released. Remember, they had
Yeah,
to
she had
hold
to
off.
revoice all of the questions because some minion was sent to interview the people who weren't that interesting. But I tell you something, Meghan was there like the proverbial off a shovel when there was a celebrity to be interviewed. Oh my God, she turned up then. But when it was someone normal, one of the real people that she was to champion, she was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, she was there. I'm sure that there was a banana she needed to write on or something at
Yes.
that point in time. She was
What did she
busy.
write on the banana when that was it? You are loved or something?
Yeah, I don't. I think I blacked that out. I don't want to think about that. But yeah. So that to me that was an interesting story, and I think that there is some based on stories we've heard, like the Reese Witherspoon, like the Taylor Swift. I think that there might be some real truth behind this one out of Closer magazine, that they are feeling a bit of rejection from the A-list crowd in the States, in Tinseltown.
Yeah, she did write "You are loved" on the banana. I mean, I've loved a bit of fruit in my time, so. Now let's talk about Kate Middleton. Now, a child asked her who she is, and what does she say?
This is so sweet. You know, have you seen this video that's circulating on TikTok where it says it shows, I think it actually starts with Meghan saying, "I'm Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex."
Oh, of
and
course.
then it cuts to Prince William and he's like, "I'm William." And then it cuts to Kate and she's like, "I'm Kate. You know, like, I'm George's mummy." Like, it's something really sweet and something very low key. And then Beatrice is like, "Hi, I'm Beatrice." And then it cuts back to Meghan. "I'm Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex." So there's this theme of everybody else is so much more down to earth than Meghan. And they were actually born or slowly progressed into their position. So there's this great story in People magazine about how Kate was at a school this week. She's talking to a little bitty baby about how much she likes their school. And the child, I believe, she gives him a high five. The child asks, "Who are you?" And she says, "Who am I? I'm married to William." So again, this very humble reaction, sweet response. And I think if you read between the lines, you're seeing that this is a woman that fully supports her husband, the heir to the throne. It's about him. It's his show. And she's willing to play the supporting act, which, again, that's not something you see with Meghan Markle. But it's a very much a Prince Philip characteristic. "I'm here to support you. What can I do?" And just that.
But also,
and Camilla, the Queen Consort, "I want to be a strength for you. I want to be a support for you."
well, as my mother always says, Kinsey, and you know that she's a font of wisdom and gin, those who've got it don't flaunt it, and those who haven't do. And that is advice you could take to the grave, because, you know, if they don't need to say, you know, I'm Princess Kate, I am, you know, the new Princess of Wales. She's just Kate. Yeah, William, I'm the future king. You know, I'm the Prince of Wales now. I used to be the Duke of Cambridge. He doesn't need to say any of that because he's William. Whereas Meghan, of course, wants to flaunt it because she hasn't, unfortunately, got it.
There's also a great video of Prince William. I believe it's at Windsor Castle, but a little boy is talking to him, and a little boy is saying, "We're waiting for Prince William." And he has no idea he's talking to him. So Prince William starts looking behind him, and he's like, "Was that him?" You know, they're just so sweet and down to earth. And that, I think that clearly is why we are so drawn to them and why their likability, especially in the States, is going out the roof.
And I think that what it really highlights as well is the cultural difference, because it's very British to not want to, you know, sing your praises, whereas of Meghan being American, that's a very American trait.